Thank you all for this invitation and the presentation, and thanks to that beautiful singing of the hand or the cock in the back, welcoming me and my team. Thank you very much. Can you all see my screen now? Or
No.
no? Okay. Let me share first my screen. That's again the cock telling me what to do. So. Uh, what about now?
Yes, we can see.
Very good. Well, again, good afternoon, everyone. Also from our side, welcome to this session. My name is Jorge Leiva, and together with my colleagues, Yanka Desatnik, and Caitlin Sheffer, we're here very happy today to present NADO, how we serve our members and the anti-doping community as a whole in this year. And also we're here to talk about the RADOs, the status of RADOs, small NADOs, and how we can help you. First of all, I would like to thank Gobi and his team at SEARADO for the invitation and for the opportunity to speak to an audience that we don't see or speak very often to. And I think the reason is not a lack of interest from our side. We are located in Europe. We have also limited staff, um, and also, but we are always very happy to hear from all anti-doping organizations all around the world, members and non-members, and also expand our understanding of the anti-doping system. I already learned the first thing here this morning, and that is that you can start webinars or teleconference with music, and that I think provides a much more uh, nice environment. Um, we have prepared some slides for you, as I said, to present Dainado, our structure, our history, our services. And hopefully at the end of the presentation, there'll be time for questions and a discussion with you. Gobi was mentioning this webinars are not really set as webinars, but more as meetings so that everybody can see each other and talk and interact. And we like that idea very much. So please remember one thing: if you got out of this webinar and trying to digest all the information that we presented, try to remember one thing. We try to serve our members with a global and inclusive view of our mission, which is to provide advocacy and support to all members, experienced and less experienced organizations. And this is how we serve our members, mainly in the anti-doping community. So let me go to the next slide. So this is the structure of today's presentation. I will explain first where we're coming from. Our structure, Yanka and I will describe our membership, our current membership. Then Caitlin will talk about the INADO strategy and some of the activities that you might be able to recognize um, um, from us. Um, and then Yanka will show you how our members stay connected. And finally, I'll speak about the RADOs and maybe small NADOs and the benefits and how this is changing within our membership. I'm having problems changing the slide. No. So let's begin with the INADO structure and history. So in March 2011, a group of national anti-doping organizations agreed that there was a need for a body to represent all NADOs. Let's remember the first World Anti-Doping Code began in 2003, I remember, I think. So in 2011, 8 years later, NADOs realized the need to form a body that will represent them. And a project was commissioned to 5 countries, and they put a proposal and financed a project for 1 year. And with that project, and also with this financial support of WADA, including a multi-year financial grant, um, in 2012, INADO became operational. The first CEO, Joseph de Poncier, was hired, and also the INADO was open for membership. INADO's office is located in Bonn, Germany, but as of last year, we also operate as a German association, so formally under the laws of the Federal Republic of Germany. Um, and INADO's vision is a world in which athletes can, of all athletes, athletes of all levels can participate in clean sport together. So that's the reason for our slogan, clean sport together. Um, what this means in practice is we want organizations to deliver the highest quality possible of anti-doping work, and we want to support our members to support them do that. We want a NATO and RADO community that helps each other, whereby mature organizations reach out and support smaller or newer anti-doping organizations. Um, and we want to help you uh, to improve your practices and processes, but also to be compliant with the World Anti-Doping Code. And this is a little bit how what we've been working towards in the last 10 years. But also part of our job is to represent the NATO and RADO voice in the wider community and also directly with WADA. This last one means that we might not always see eye to eye with WADA. We don't always agree with WADA, but I think WADA and NADOs can only be genuinely strong if we are open to feedback and if we support each other. So I think our job is not to be antagonistic to WADA, but we recognize, frankly, that all anti-doping organizations, including WADA, we all sit on the same boat, and we want to achieve the same thing. That is, we want to keep our promise of clean sport together. Um, INADO is not only an office located in Bonn, in Yanka will talk about the members, but also the body you should also know today is the governing board of INADO. The office is advised by the governing board. The board has 8 seats. You see here all the current members. Nick Patterson is our chair. He's also the CEO of Drug Free Sport New Zealand. And Lars Moorsafer, he's the vice director of NADO Germany. He is the vice chair. Each member is elected for a 3-year term, and it's possible to be elected for a second term. And all board members are elected at the General Assembly. That's the meeting with all members every 3 years. And each organization in that assembly has 1 vote. We also want to be transparent. You can find all information related to the board, finances, meetings, agreements, etc., in our website. I think that's also important towards our members, but also towards the anti-doping community. As I mentioned before, INADO is a association based in Bonn, Germany, and this is the office of INADO. It's comprised by a young, qualified, and multicultural staff. Every staff member coming from a different country. We have different academic and cultural backgrounds, but we all share the passion for integrity in sports. The communication language, of course, is English, but we can assist our members also in German, Spanish, Hungarian, and Turkish. So we're always very excited to hear from members and look forward to any requests that you might want to share with us. And I will leave it to Caitlin and Yanka and to present themselves, mention who they are and how they join INADO. I think that's also part of this, of the mission of this webinar today. So I hand over to Yanka to give you a short overview of our membership.
Yes, thank you, Jorge. Before I talk about the membership, hello everyone. Very nice to meet you and see you through this Zoom meeting. I'm Janka. I'm responsible for the member services at iNADO and also for the social media communication. I'm originally coming from Hungary, and I joined iNADO 6 months ago when I moved to Germany to pursue my master degree. But now about our members. Um, Jorge, can you put the Zoom picture away so we can see your slides? Oh yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. Um, right now we have 61 NADOs and 8 RADOs who are members, and we have roughly 1,000 experts worldwide. Probably a bit more because not everyone have answered our capability register survey that we sent out. So we are compromised by a huge expert group. And if you see at our map, we don't have yet an equal geographic distribution. However, we aim for that. So as you can see, we are very happy to welcome more members from regions like Africa, Asia, and Latin America, for instance. We are equally inclusive towards all our member NADOs and RADOs as well. So we treat them the same way, regardless of the size of them or their influence on the anti-doping world. That's about our members. Jorge, do you have anything to add?
Yes, thank you, Yanka. Um, so when we're talking about our members, I think one way of building a category for our members easily is the testing numbers, as you can see here on the slide on the left-hand side, you will see the last global anti-doping tested that was published by WADA, and you'll see here the size of testing according to the type of organization. You will see here international federations, NADOs, RADOs, and other organizations such as major event organizers and how they contribute to the global testing numbers. NADOs are responsible by about 2/3 of global testing. And within that sphere, our members, INADO members, the 61 members that Yanka mentioned are responsible for almost 87% of those tests. So not all members, not all NADOs are member of INADO, but we do, our membership comprises the largest and maybe more developed organizations, and many also from the medium and smaller anti-doping organizations. Um, Testing is now everything, so education is also a very important um, topic and a very important area of anti-doping, which is a little bit more difficult to measure, or in contrast to testing, it's difficult to have one performance indicator that will allow us to compare NADOs or to NADOs or RADOs to RADOs. But this is also important, and we also are gathering this type of information to understand better how our members operate, what they do. As I said, I think we're maybe too testing centered in anti-doping in general, and are just beginning to pay attention to education activities sufficiently. And here you see a graph of the testing, I'm sorry, of the number of athletes and athlete support personnel that has been reached with outreach activities. So we try to monitor also this to understand our members better. So maybe it's important for you, the audience, to have sometimes a bit of understanding where are you located in terms of the size of your organization towards others, just to maybe also understand or be able to um, um, imagine the type of problems that you are facing versus the problems other organizations are facing. And I think one way of getting closer to that is by looking at the size of NADOs or RADOs in terms of their staff. We see here that NADOs in average within INADO have 23 staff members, but that includes also sample collection personnel. And RADOs have an average 3 staff members, and this is how they are distributed. I think in both cases, sample collection personnel makes more than half of the staff. So that really, again, highlights the historic importance of testing in anti-doping. But also here you see on the right-hand side of your slide, the distribution of budget among our members, and a little bit surprising. Well, surprising for us at first, but maybe after a quick review, not so surprising. You will see here that RADOs do spend much more of their budget in education than the average NADO, which I think that's a very refreshing and also very important to highlight, because I think it's much better and much efficient to center and to focus your activities and budget and prevention than just trying to catch all the cheats with only with testing. So I think both strategies are important. So I would like to hand over to Caitlin to explain what are we doing and the strategy for that.
Super, thanks, Jorge. First, I'll give a brief introduction to myself. So my name is Caitlin. I'm originally from Canada, but I've been living in Germany for the past 9 years. And previously, before joining INADO, I'm really new to INADO. I joined just in February this year, but before that, I was working 6 years for the International Paralympic Committee, which is also based in Bonn, Germany, its headquarters. Good. So the current strategic plan. So INADO's current strategic plan runs from 2020 to 2022. And this year's operational plan and every year's operational plan is based on INADO's 3 main strategic priorities. Those strategic priorities include being an influential international voice for NADOs, and then RADOs, hopefully officially also when that's voted on. 2, to seek, share, and promote best practices, and to serve a supportive international member community. So all of the activities that we do on an annual basis at INADO to serve and support its members are directly aligned with our 3 main strategic priorities. And in the next few slides, Jorge and I will go over a bit about what those activities are and just share a few highlights about what we're doing this year. The 2022 strategic plan is coming to an end this year, and with that comes a review process to develop a new strategic plan for the 2023 to 2025 cycle. And the strategic plan process is going to be led by the INADO board. It's meant to be a very inclusive process, so we want to hear from our members. There will be specific points in time for the INADO board in which they'll engage with the INADO members to get their input on where INADO should be headed and how we can best support them to achieve their priorities and activities in anti-doping. Okay, next slide, please, Jorge. So one of our main activities, and this activity hasn't happened for the past 2 years due to COVID, and we're really excited that it can happen again this year, is the INADO workshop. This year's theme is New Possibilities to Use Anti-Doping Capabilities, Reassess, Improve, and Adapt. This workshop will be held in Lausanne, Switzerland on the 10th of June. It's just a day before the annual WADA Symposium, which is the 11th to 12th of June. So if you're already planning to go to that, perhaps you'd also like to come join our workshop as well too, if you haven't already signed up for it. The format of the workshop is going to be hybrid, so we will offer all of the plenary sessions online as well as live in person, as well as a selection of breakout sessions will also be offered online too. And we have a whole host of topics this year, lots of hot topics to get in the loop on. One of them I'd like to highlight is a topic actually that will be delivered by Gobi and Dr. Sasha Sutherland from the Caribbean RADO. And the topic theme is RADOs bridging the gap between WADA and NADOs. Some other topics that will be covered include dry blood spot testing, getting athletes' consent for scientific research, also looking at the new role of athletes in the anti-doping system, and also having a look at the functionality of ADAMS and making some suggestions for improvements. So this is just a selection of some of the many topics that will be covered. And if you want to find out more information, it's online on our website. The registration is open. And you can also feel free to email Jorge, Yanka, and I if you have any questions about the workshop. And we'd be really happy to see you there. Okay, next slide, please. Super, I think Yanka just shared the link. Good, another activity. So this activity is the capability register. And the capability register is the first of its kind. We're really proud to present it because it provides an overview about the capabilities of iNADO's members, which include NADOs and RADOs. And it was created with answers received from a survey launched at the end of 2020. 44 NADOs and 9 RADOs contributed to the survey with a 66% response rate. So quite a good response rate going into this capability register. I'll just take a moment to talk about the idea about how the capability register came to life. So iNADO's strategic plan from 2020 to 2022 was approved during the Katowice General Assembly in November 2020. And there were a few key questions raised during this time that really feed into the capability register and why it exists. And those questions were, what capabilities make an anti-doping program successful? Do our members possess these capabilities? And could they be developed and shared within the community? So this survey really took a register of 5 overarching categories, including education, testing, sciences and results management, intelligence and investigations, and governance. And with all of that data, we were able to create this holistic register about what's going on with our members in a really systematic way to see how our community is working, what are its strengths and weaknesses, what are potential opportunities for collaboration. And the register also enables members to compare across each other and see, okay, this is where I'm doing really well, and this is maybe where another organization in my region is not doing so well, and maybe we can connect here and support each other somehow. Just a few things to highlight from the results of the capability register. So in terms of education, almost 750,000 athletes and athlete support personnel were reached in the 12-month period. In terms of testing, 77% of all the tests conducted by testing authorities in 2019 were conducted by members. In terms of research, the top 3 research fields of iNADO's members are social science research, drug detection, and policies and procedures. In terms of results management, the top 3 substances found in positive tests were S1 anabolic androgenic steroids, S5 diuretics and masking agents, and S6 stimulants. In terms of I&I, 21% of all anti-doping rule violations originated from I&I, and the top 3 committees of the member organizations include a TUE committee, a hearing committee, and an athlete committee. In terms of what are our next steps with the capability register, so we have all this information. It's a public document. It's available for all members and any other organization who's not a member to access. And we now have the capability register where one of the iNADO members wants to take it forward and really operationalize the capability register and offer it to many countries in a practical way to foster that collaboration. We're not able to share more details right at this point, but once it becomes more clear, we're happy to share more details about what that will look like and how you can benefit from it. And on this slide, it's just to highlight that this is a document that is supposed to be really accessible for the members to use. You can use it in a PDF or Excel format, whatever you prefer, and you can really go down and see, okay, this anti-doping organization, this NADO or this RADO has this capacity or they don't, and where can we connect and how can we support each other best. So that was the second of our activities, and I'll hand it over to Jorge to talk about the third. You're on mute, Jorge.
All right. Thank you, Caitlin. We try to pick 3 activities for this webinar that maybe will give you a better idea of what we do and how we try to serve our members. Here on screen, just 2 recent activities. We call them policy development. This is basically us going out, gathering information, collecting data from you, from other sources, summarizing it and presenting it to you, back to you, to all members, and sometimes to the anti-doping community as a whole. That will help you in making your decisions, or maybe establishing process to take those decisions. We know, most of you know, the code compliance questionnaire of this year began already for some code signatories in last month. So we collected here additional questions or information from WADA to clarify many of the questions they asked in the questionnaire, what we thought is the way in how they frame the question offers room for interpretation. So we are providing you here with a little bit of more additional information. For instance, your budget, is it US dollars? What about if you're not using US dollars for your budget? How are you supposed to make a conversion to US dollars, things like that? But also we have asked members to share handbooks and manuals that are being requested in the code compliance questionnaire for other members, and make them available for other members. The second example we have picked today is a summary of how members are handling substances abuse cases. You'll see here when we did this at the end of last year, around 15 cases of ADRVs related to substances of abuse had been recorded since the beginning of the new code, the January 2021. And so this summary, it's a I think 4 or 5 page summary, explains what challenges and solutions our members are finding for this type of cases. So I think it helps you if you are facing soon cases like this, or cases of this type, to know maybe how other organizations are handling these cases. So this is a little bit of what NADO is also about. So I'll get back here to Yanka to explain how our members stay connected. And I think after that we only have one more section, and then we'll go to the Q&A.
Yes, thank you, Jorge. As it was mentioned before, we use different platforms to enable our members to exchange ideas and also to stay connected to each other. Basecamp is one of such platforms. On the right side of the screen, you can see that the topics are grouped up together, and they cover areas like governance, testing, and legal matters. In these groups, we assign representatives of our members, and they can ask their question right away. We've experienced this tool as a very useful way to stay connected, because even if one NADO is not affected by a particular topic or issue, they can still follow the discussion, and later on when they face the same problem, they can use this knowledge. On the left side, you can see that Suyi is really active in Basecamp, and we are very happy for that. But also another example that was raised in the past or recently, it was about blood collection from CADA, the Korean anti-doping agency, and they asked if anyone have ever experienced a case where an athlete was harmed during blood collection process, and how did the different NADOs handle this issue. And it proved to be a very convenient tool because anyone who had encountered the same problem, they immediately reached out to her and they suggested some things. The other platform we use, Jorge, if you could change. We organize webinars and also podcast interviews. For our podcast, we brought one of the latest iNADO live chat with Gobi, where we talked with Gobi. It was a very fruitful discussion. But why did we start creating podcasts? So as you all know, in the beginning of the pandemic, we all struggled to keep connected, to still feel personal, to have this personal touch to each other. We didn't talk a lot. So we decided to create a podcast to stay connected. And it also proved to be a great tool for our members. They can just listen to it on the way to work. The main idea about the podcast is to target people or the audience who are not necessarily very involved in anti-doping matters. So we bring the topics in a very digestible way to our audience. We don't want to be too technical, so people who don't speak our language can also benefit listening to it. And as you all know, and we mentioned it before, iNADO is also a communication channel. So we give the microphone to DCOs, to researchers, and CEOs. In our podcast, we cover topics like athlete representation, testing again, and governance, for example. We try to produce not longer than 30 minutes long podcasts, so it's very easy to listen to, and you can gain a lot of knowledge from it. So I'm going to quickly just put the link in the chat, and you can just tune in and listen to it when you have some time. The other platform or the other event that we organize monthly, it's our newsletter, our webinar. So we organize our webinars for the members and also for the entire anti-doping community. So we differentiate between these organizations. So our members can benefit a bit more. There are more webinars organized for specifically to our members, and they are, for example, not available for everyone who's not involved in anti-doping. We always upload all our webinars to our library, and later on I will also share the link. So if you're a member of iNADO, you can just log in and look back at all the webinars that we've done before. And last but not least, a few words about our newsletter, iNADO Update. Here again, we try to cover a large array of topics. For example, iNADO community on the left side, you can see here we share events and conferences from our members, but also from iNADO. On the right side, there's the section practical development. Here we try to be more specific, a bit more anti-doping and technical related, but all in all, it is also a very digestible way of receiving news from us. We also introducing new CEOs, so everyone in our world can be very acquainted with what's happening in our members. And that's all about our channels. And hopefully at the end of the presentation, Jorge will also have our emails. So if you have any questions related to social media, any kind of communication, just reach out to me.
Thank you, Janka. Just before we end, this is the last section of the presentation today. so we were invited by RADO to do this presentation, and we're very happy for this opportunity. So please, I invite you now to raise or ask any questions to either me or the rest of my staff today. Um, you will, well, INADO is the Institute of National Anti-Doping Organization, because as I explained at the beginning, we were founded by a group of NADOs, but I think the perception that we only serve NADOs has been changing over the past, let's say, 3 or 4 years. Into 2020, RADOs joined INADO. The statutes at that moment, or the statutes don't allow up to now, up to date, the RADO full membership. You have access to the services that we just described, and we're very happy to hear from you and try to support you. But it doesn't mean that you have a vote at the General Assembly, the RADO. It so far, so this year, 8 RADOs are members of INADO, and the membership to INADO is funded by the World Anti-Doping Agency. Some countries are part of a RADO, and at the same time, they're independent or single standalone INADO members, for instance, like Singapore. So both is possible. As I explained, this is changing, and there's a clear commitment and will of the chair of the board and the rest of the board, and also myself, to change this and give RADOs full membership. That will be voted on this year at the Annual General Assembly, which is taking place in Lausanne this summer. And that will effectively mean, if it's approved, that each RADO gets also 1 vote to vote, but also their members, so the RADOs are also eligible for the board of INADO. So it's basically, we will not be having to make this distinction between NADOs and RADOs, but we'll be speaking only of members. So certainly, I think the more structure, experience, and maybe mature one organization becomes, I will not lie to you, I think the easier it is to use your services to connect. It does require some time of your staff and some ability maybe to connect to other members, which I think this is the main service for smaller organizations. So if you are able to digest and to analyze this from the information we're putting in front of you, and come to us and ask us questions, and I think there's a real benefit for you at INADO. And how you can join INADO when you are at that point, Janka will just briefly mention.
Yes, thank you, Jorge. As Jorge mentioned, until the decision is made for NADOs to have full membership, right now NADOs can join INADO as a member. And in order to become a member, the INADO statutes have to be accepted. You can find it on our website, and also the board has to accept the application. Additionally, the membership fees can also be found on our website. On the left side, the left arrow shows where it can be found. Yeah, all in all, we are very, very happy to have new NADOs in our community that bring a new color to INADO and also to the whole anti-doping world.
Well, thank you very much. This is all from our side regarding the presentation. So we're happy to take any questions or any comments from you or from SEARADO, Gobi, Sui. I'm handing back to you.
So you're muted.
Thank you, Jorge, Eileen, and Janka. Do you have any questions? Does anyone have any questions?
Jorge and team, thank you very much. I've got a few questions here, which I thought I can ask you. Before I ask the questions, I'd just like to let member countries know a couple of things. That SEARADO, with the support of WADA, has been a member of INADO, and we not only get support from WADA with regards to all your queries and all your questions with regards to processes, capacity building, etc. We also get information from INADO. All right, as Jorge and team has rightfully pointed out, there's a capability register which you can look at as a member. There is actually a base camp. You would have seen Sui's questions to the base camp, which reaches out to all the NADOs to some of your queries. There are specific areas which they have done with regards to policy. A good number of countries will be receiving their CCQ, and Jorge has highlighted some of the clarifications of some of the questions pertaining CCQ. So when you come to the CCQ, and if you were to ask us, we will probably either go to WADA or we will even go to INADO to get some of these answers and to get back to you. And as of course, INADO do have their own webinars too. So something which I just consolidated with some of the main points, which I think I hope all member countries in this region and those who have who have come from other regions understand INADO's work and their contribution. Jorge, I have one question, or two questions in fact. The first question is, how can RADOs and NADOs further collaborate with INADO? Because we find your workshops, etc., are very much in Europe and the Western world. All right. So in what way can RADOs and NADOs in this region further collaborate with INADO? Are you there?
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Gobi. I think what I don't want to give the impression that Basecamp is the only way to communicate with INADO. It's basically, first of all, a platform to communicate among members, but we are collecting, we're filtering the discussions that are taking place in the different groups that we have in Basecamp. So as much as you can share in Basecamp, we're also picking up those conversations, and also this allows us to maybe identify topics that we would like to have in the workshop or in the webinar, or ask someone for advice, and ask that people to provide that advice through a podcast, things like that. So the communication that you're having among yourselves is something that is it's a message that we receive, and that's also how we try to ship our services. And the other thing, as we are a small office, like many of your organization too, so you can relate a little bit to the challenge of having to cover a very wide global membership in some way, at the same time having limited resources. I think that's also something that we all understand. So just reaching out to us directly. I think the main message of today from our side is that we are happy to help. We try to be as inclusive as we can, and we don't always get it right, but we want to believe that we can learn, and we learn in the best way from by hearing from our members. Maybe they need to tell us, you got this wrong. Maybe they need to tell us, stop talking too much about this topic, let's talk about other topics. So do believe we react to that, and we are shaping our members, our services according to the needs of the members.
Good, thank you. One more question, it might be related to the first one. What kind of expertise can INADO provide?
Well, anti-doping has become very, very technical and very broad. I joined INADO in 2016. I think in this last 6 years, the number of documents and technical documents and standards and things you need to comply with has, I'm not sure if doubled, but it has increased considerably. So the fields of anti-doping have also are becoming more. So in the last 4 years, intelligence and investigation was a new thing. Now we have the standard of education. Now we have different definitions within the code to which we need to adapt. Things like that. So I think it's impossible to say that or to claim that we can be the experts of any of those fields. Our expertise is basically filtering the most important questions, and maybe what Caitlin presented, the capability register, is just a way of doing that in a systematic way. What are the questions that our members have? What are the strengths and skills and gaps in their program that they have? And how can we connect people to people, and maybe organizations to main organizations, or maybe how can we connect questions to answers? So we are a communication platform, if you will. We cannot dive as deep as you guys do it, because you are the hands of anti-doping. You are on the field of anti-doping, and we're not. So we will not be able to tell you right away, do this in this way, or do this in this other way to be effective. We might just have an idea who to ask, where to go, if this is a question that has popped in the past already, things like that. We are an additional companion, so to speak, of your questions. And I understand that might be frustrating sometimes for some members who need immediate assistance in some questions, but that's, I think, the most sustainable way of serving our members.
Finally, I think you have a webinar coming in, not a webinar, I mean a workshop just before the WADA Symposium. And if NADOs are not members, will they be able to join the workshop, number one? Number two, do they have to pay by virtue that they're all members of the RADO?
Yes, so the workshop is open for all members of the anti-doping community. There's a fee for non-members of NADO of I think it's 75 euros for that day, and for the online participation, also for non-members, is a reduced fee, so smaller than that. To be able to manage the RADO membership, we understand every RADO is comprised sometimes by even 15 countries. To be able to manage that workload for us, the agreement is that only the staff of the RADO have direct access to the INADO services. That means that the staff of the RADO can attend the workshop at no cost. Any other organization will have to pay the fee. Now, we're open to talk. We're open also to questions, queries, and if there's a particular problem, or there's particular interest in one session or in the entire workshop, and there's limitations maybe to even pay the fees, but there's a really interest in joining INADO, we can talk. So don't hesitate to send us your questions.
Thank you, Jorge. Thank you for giving a detailed answers to all the questions. In fact, for some of you who have been around for a good period of time, sometime around 2015, when when SEARADO organized the intelligence and investigation seminar, one of our partners was INADO. From our RADO angle, we hope in future, if we have a joint seminar, etc., we will try to see whether we can join hands with INADO again. Yeah, that's from me. Anyone else has any other questions?
Just let me add something, Gobi,
Yeah.
to the workshop participation. I think for this year, since we want to welcome as many members back to Lausanne or to engage with people after 3 years, we're very eager to do that and very excited about this opportunity. We said we will welcome 4 staff members of each member, and in this case, RADOs are equally members at no cost. So you could, I could hand over or yeah, throw
Sure.
the ball back at you, and you could say who you would like to give those 4 seats to.
Sure. Thank you very much. I appreciate your generosity on this matter. And again, the idea is after a long break for NADOs who are heading down to Lausanne. And if you have an interest, do let me know. I can vouch that I've attended many iNADO workshops, and they are very much practical based. That means what's going on the ground, what you need to do, etc. All right. With that, Sue, you can take over. Is there any other questions, anyone? That's the iNADO email address, as well as their website. Please take note of that, get into it. I know you may not be able to access everything because some of it is only for members. However, if there are areas where you want to know, I know of countries here who wanted to know whether there is a legislation. Can you give us some samples of legislation? Just to let you know, I got these samples of legislation through iNADO. Yeah, so you may not see it. This is in the back. There's a lot of benefits we have got from iNADO. All right. We also like to thank our friends from Africa who has joined us. All right, Andrew, if you have any questions, Andrew, I'd like to also open up to Andrew and the rest from other beyond this region. Any questions, Andrew?
Thanks, Gobi, for for this most informative workshop. I don't have any questions at the moment. I'm happy to attend and also benefit from this workshop. And thank you to you and your team, as well as our iNADO colleagues.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So that's basically it. Before we go, I think Sini has one more something to share on the screen. Please take note. The one which there's a couple of webinars coming up next, but anti-doping Adele from WADA, 1 year and beyond, and a survey tool to estimate the prevalence of doping also by WADA. And of course, the next one that we are organizing is result management administration webinar. And we have Mr. Akira from JADA who is presenting, as well as we have speakers from, I think Nagesh is here, as well as Shamil from Malaysia. I think it's crucial for NADOs in this region to attend this, because every time there's a positive case, there is some panic button pressed. So I think this really gives a good insight with regards to results management administration and what need to be done. All right. Thank you very much. I think that's basically it. Obviously, we have a post-webinar survey, which will be given to you right after this. And there's also another question we are putting in the post-webinar questionnaire. A survey is suggestions for topics of interest. If there are interesting topics that you want to know more to boost your knowledge and skills, please let us know what these topics are. In 2021 and 2022, we have done really a numerous numbers of webinars, and we are in fact saving all this. We are hoping to put it in YouTube so that any new staff member in this region can just access it and know what it is all about. All right. With that, before I close the webinar, can I probably get everyone to show your wonderful faces, your beautiful COVID-free faces? Smile. I say COVID-free because I got COVID. I'm now over COVID. And if you can put in all your video, Sui would like to, or Sini would like to take a photo for memory's sake. Wow, look at the FINADO team. They are one whole team there, yeah? Waving all over the place. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. What about the others? If you can on your video, that would be good. If not, I know there are sometimes difficulty putting the video on. So, Sini, I think you can carry on. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take the photo now. 1, 2, trip. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you very much. And we will meet at the next webinar. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you all. Take care.
We
Stay safe.
Thanks, Oed, Kathleen, Jenka. Thanks.
Gobi, thank you.
Arigato. Thanks.
Kazu.
Kazu-san is here.
Thank
hello,
you.
Kazu-san.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Nice
Thank
presentation.
you.
Thank you.
Kazu, Gobi.
Please,
Thank you,
Sir
thank you.
Gobi. Simi, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We got to get Kazu-san to speak one day.
Thank you, Gobi.
Thank you.
Bye, Gobi.